How do you get the best out of your team? If it's all about talent, why don't the richest sports teams just win all the time? Think about it. More money, more talent, yeah? And given how much money companies spend on parties, perks and ping pong, why are so many still failing to work as a team? These questions have become my obsession. As a result of my journey, I get to take lessons from professional sports to help corporate leaders turn their organisations and operate more like a pro sports team. And it all started for me 3 years into the journey of my first company, Aussie X. We taught children in Canadian schools how to play Australian sports. That's me with 3 bottles of bleach in my hair on Canada's Dragon's Den, commonly known as Shark Tank in other countries. Yeah. And although I look like a young Robert Redford, as one of the Dragons said, I did not feel like the Sundance Kid. When I look at that picture, I see a broken and lonely business owner just struggling to be a leader. I had a vision for the company where everyone would feel like they owned the company, but my leadership style was centred around outcomes and results. How do I get the result? And as fast as possible manner. I thought leadership was problem solving, so when things didn't work, I just fixed everyone's problems and I started doing my work and everyone else's. And as a result of that behaviour, I got broken down physically, mentally and emotionally, to the point where I couldn't even muster up the energy to walk 8 steps up to my bedroom, which was built in the office, so I would just sleep on the floor. And it got a bit scary there for a while because I couldn't control my thinking, my attention. And even though I was around people all day, I found myself terribly lonely. But as I laid on the floor, the question that ran through my head was, how do I get the best out of my team? And I was trying everything. The motivational speeches, I was spending money on parties, perks and ping pong, but I was lost. Now, luckily for me, my saviour came from the professional sports league of one of the sports we were teaching the kids, Aussie Rules football. Paul Roos, the head coach of the Sydney Swans, took the team to a championship after 72 years of mediocrity. Roosy, as he's known in Australia, took a completely counterintuitive approach to getting results. Diverting his attention away from talent and outcomes, he focused the team on their behaviours, their relationships and their process. Counterintuitive, right? But it was brilliant. In 3 seasons, he took the Sydney Swans from being ridiculed to revered. And lucky for me, I got coached on the formula, I applied it to Aussie X, and within 2 short years, my vision had come true. My team felt and acted as if they owned the company, and I'd made myself redundant. Today, I get to work with pro sport and corporate leaders all over the world to help them design their team performance using the lessons I learned the hard way. My pain has turned into my purpose, and I love it. What I've learned over this journey is there's this unique organisational habit that the best teams embed using a 3-part formula that it optimises teamwork and it gets incredible results, no matter the industry, the sector or the size of the team. It's incredibly simple. It's so simple that most people overlook it, and anyone can do it at any time, any place. And I call it catch the good. With catch the good, what I mean by good is catch the right behaviours and not just the right result. Catch the right behaviours and not just the right result. So let's break this down into the parts of the formula, yeah? Part 1, your team behaviours. Let's start by getting clear on what performance is. Actions get outcomes, yeah? So we can say that our behaviours drive our results. So our behaviours equal our performance. Sport creates a very clear picture of that, but it's a bit more complex in the corporate space because we work independently and we certainly don't watch hours of game footage together to assess our performance, right? So, do you think about your behaviour much, or do you just act? If your meetings were televised, would you change your behaviour as a result? So if our behaviours equal our performance, if we want to get the best out of our team, we need to create our best team behaviours, yeah? But the problem here is that you can get great results. Individuals in particular can get great results, but also behave badly. In sport, we call them coach killers. Reed Hastings, the founder of Netflix, he calls them brilliant jerks. You may have come across a couple of these people in your career. Are you thinking of a brilliant jerk right now? Call their name out? No, don't do that. We'll get in trouble if we do that. So when Roosie first took this approach to the Sydney Swans, he and his team created their best team behaviours, yeah? They got every player to rate themselves and each other out of 10. Not on skill, talent or performance, but on the team behaviours. Then they tabulated it from 1 to 44. The top 7 were chosen to be the leadership team. So have a guess, did the very best player make the top 7? No, they didn't. 2 weeks later, came to Roosie's office and said, what have I got to do to get in the leadership group next year? Roosie responded with a great question. Looking at our list of behaviours, which one do you need to work on the most? The player made their choice and with the support of the coaching staff had a clear roadmap moving forward. The following year, the player not only made the leadership group, but he went on to win 2 league MVPs and 2 championships, a rare feat in our sport. Today, that process is just common practice in Australian professional sports because of its impact on team performance. If you want to get the best out of your team, create your team's best behaviours so you can catch the good, catch the right behaviours and not just the right result. Part 2 of the formula, your relationships. So relationships are built on trust, yeah? In business, trust is an economic driver. It's the one thing that makes everything better. Therefore, we could say relationships equal trust, trust equals performance. Now, you may have seen this model before, and trust, we tend to build trust through competence and character, but I reckon that this model's missing one important part, and that is care. Care is a behaviour, and it often shows up as time. Think about it. If you care for something or someone, you make the time, don't you? When I think about care, I think about people making time to recognise another individual's effort and particularly their behaviour. And when we do that, we make deposits of metaphorical dollars into our team trust bank. Yet I see far too little of it. And studies show 82% of employees say that they would give more effort if they were recognised at work. Yet the same number say they don't feel recognised at work. Something's not adding up here and we're leaving a lot of performance on the table, yeah? I learnt that lesson really early in my career. I was facilitating this great group. I had them all partnered up and they were sharing stories of why they loved working with each other. What a great exercise. Now, for the purposes of the story, let's call Jane the boss and Mary the employee. Mary had been working for Jane for about 5 years, but in that time she'd created a story, a narrative that Jane didn't like her. Sure, she got the regulation thank yous for doing her work, but nothing with any specificity. However, when Jane was sharing her story, she said she loves throwing dinner parties because she's the only one at the party that gets to boast about her team, namely about Mary. Mary started to cry, and it was the first time that she'd felt genuine recognition from her boss. As a result, they embraced, they started to laugh and cry together. We all heard it, and we all learnt that beautiful lesson together. If you want to get the best out of your team, care by making time to build really great relationships with your people. Make the time to catch the good, catch the right behaviours, and not just the right result. Part 3 of the formula, your process. The best leaders in business and in sport don't leave their performance to chance. That's why they equate their process 2, performance. Problem is, a lot of corporate leaders think that to build trust, they need to have big team building events in their process. But that's not really how trust and team performance works. That's not how the human brain works. Our brain is constantly scanning the environment, yeah? Asking questions like, am I safe? Do I belong? And have I a future here? That's why much beloved TED Talk speaker Brené Brown's definition is so critical, yeah? Trust is not built in big sweeping moments. It's built in tiny moments every day. So the best corporate leaders look at their internal process much like a pro sports team does their game schedule. We all know at the start of a season, we get the game schedule, where the games are, the venue, all that sort of stuff. I'm yet to see a professional sports coach call up the league commissioner and ask for a game to be changed. Yeah, g'day commissioner, it's just Emil here from the Kangaroos. Listen, Thursday's game, not going to work for us. Best player's got a hamstring injury and I want to attend another meeting. Just doesn't happen, right? So I had this recent story where 2 leaders from the same company came up to me and told me about their monthly directors meeting. Some conflict had happened between their 2 teams, and as a result, they approached their monthly meeting with their boxing gloves on. They were ready to go into battle to defend their team. But as part of their process, what they did was they did catch the good stories to begin their team meeting. As one leader was sharing, the other one realised that the reason for their conflict between their teams didn't make sense anymore. So they took their metaphorical boxing gloves off. The rest of the meeting was completely different, and they realised that they were on the same team. All because they just started their meeting with a catch the good story. If you want to get the best out of your team, schedule moments into your process to catch the good. Now you might be wondering, okay Emil, so to get the best out of my team, do I just run around all day, catching the good and just ignore what's not working? Well, there's a fire over there. Nah, it's all right, catch the good, we'll do something over here. Doesn't really work that way, does it? Quite the contrary. Everyone knows how to celebrate after a win, but very few teams know how to connect after a loss. Catch the good as an organisational habit consistently replenishes your team's trust bank. You don't need those dollars when your team's going well. You need those dollars most when things are not working well, when you're not getting the results that you want. That's the time where you may need to make withdrawals from your trust bank account, because that's when the tough conversations have to happen. Under pressure, tough conversations, lose dollars in the trust bank. This might be the most important observation I've made. The best teams don't catch the good and ignore what's not working. They catch the good so they can attack what's not working together. Research backs up my observations as well. The best teams, the most successful teams, show that they have a positive to negative feedback ratio. The worst teams studied showed that they gave 1 positive for every 3 negative. Yet the best teams, almost 6 positive to every 1 negative. Think about your last 3 months at work. What would your team's ratio be? What would your ratio be? So what do we do from here? Well, my suggestion, pretty simple. Start your meetings with catch the good stories. Here's some tips, tricks and benefits to help you along the journey. Number 1, obviously schedule it. First agenda item, 10 minutes is all that's needed. Yep. Number 2, as the leader, share last. You'll hear the stories, you can identify the patterns, and then you can share the best team behaviours that are helping your team's performance. You don't even need your list created to get started. Number 3, expect resistance. It takes a little bit of extra effort to catch the good, yeah? And maybe some of your team members might even outwardly complain, especially your brilliant jerks. So make sure you use tip number 4, Leverage your energizers. We've all got them in our teams, yeah? That person missing positivity, let them share first because their positivity is contagious. Number 5 is amplify the good. Sport does this really well. Think about it. Coaches are always trying to take advantage of their strengths. By compounding Catch the Good stories, you will unveil hidden strengths of your team that once identified, they can be amplified. So then you can share stories throughout your organisation and think about it. The 3-part formula, your behaviours plus your relationships plus your process equals your team performance. Your Catch the Good stories will be filled with these 3 parts of the formula. And finally, don't wait. Make no mistake about it. You don't need to wait for a team meeting to catch the good. You can catch the good to begin any new interaction. Whether it be assessing and reviewing a team member's report or presentation, or sitting down with a new client or a prospect, that's a ripper, that's a good one. Number 3, you could do it as you sit down for a coffee with an old friend, or as you begin dinner with your family after a hard day's work. It's my humble opinion, and look, take this for what it's worth, I think we need to start treating each other a bit better inside of our organisations. I've definitely observed that somewhat's happened, we've forgotten how best to treat our teammates, yeah? I see far too many cultures that are focused on what's in it for me rather than what can I give to we. And somewhere along, I see a society that likes to catch the bad and share those stories. Well, if we share those stories, why can't we share the catch the good stories instead? You are in control of the stories within your organisation. You get to share what you want. And look, I'm under no illusion that this approach, this formula, does take extra effort. Absolutely more intentionality. But I think, in fact, I know because I see the magic in it every day. The extra effort is worth it. Whoever you are and whatever team you're on and whatever position you have, catch your mates doing it right. Build those primal cues and connections that consistently say, you are safe, you do belong, and we're in this together. Thank you very much. Cheers.